AQUEDUCTS is the software that will allow you to design potable water networks in a simple way, offering several configuration and design options that we want to show you in this video. Let's start by creating a new project from the available option in the File tab. The software's interface is quite similar to our other programs, specifically those intended for sanitary and storm sewer design, and, in fact, you will see that many of the available features are shared among them. But in this case we want to present you the settings options, so we'll go to the corresponding tab. In the Settings tab, besides the options to select the units to be used in the data entry as well as in the presentation of results in the tables and dialogues of the program, you will find the dialog where the most relevant parameters of the software are located. Let's click the General button to show them. You will see it is composed of 3 tabs. In the Drawing Area tab, on the left side, you can set the visualization toolbar location on the Drawing Area window. On the right side are the options the software will use for the interpolation and definition of the network node's elevation from the elevation points objects created in the project. In this project, although in other videos we will be talking a little more about this, I will set it so that the elevations are assigned by proximity, so click this option, keeping the radius at 10 meters. On the Water Network tab, you will specify the size, in drawing units, that the circles representing the nodes of the network will have. It is worth noting that this size will at the time serve to establish, proportionally, the sizes of texts and other symbols used in the drawing. Also, for the purposes of the automatic creation of nodes, you can set a default value for the ground elevation. The minimum height of fill above the top of the pipeline, which can be used to define its invert or bottom elevation level automatically. You can also specify the libraries for pipes and diameters to be used by default in each new pipeline created. Finally, the Calculation and Design tab is the one that contains all the necessary parameters that will allow you to control, on the one hand, the calculation and design methods to be used by the program in the automatic design and, on the other hand, the reference values that will allow you to better visualize the behavior of the network in terms of the flows, pressures and velocities. Let's review each of these groups. The velocity and pressure values, minimum and maximum, that you enter here will be used by the software to warn you, through the results tables cells highlighting with colors, the nodes and pipes that do not comply with such control values. Later, you will see it's possible to choose between 2 formulas for the calculation of friction head losses, Hazen and Williams or Darcy-Weisbach. Of course, keep in mind that the friction coefficient or roughness parameter to be specified for the pipes will be different in each case. Since the program incorporates the tools and options for the automatic calculation of water demands on nodes, using demand parcels and demand polygons objects, we have included here the option for selecting the demands assignation method. If nearest node is the chosen option, the average demand of each node will be determined based on the sum of the water demand of the demand parcels and polygons closest to it. Now, if the selected option is 50% pipes demand, the calculation of each node's water demand is obtained by dividing into 2 the sum of the water demands associated with each pipeline connected to it. Of course, in this case, the software will first establish which demand parcels and polygons are closest to each pipe section. For the automatic design incorporated into the software, that is to say, for the determination of the diameters of each pipe section, 2 options are offered. By defining a constant flow velocity and regardless of the diameter, and by defining a table of design velocities based on the diameter. When you select this last option you will see that this button becomes enabled and, when you click it, the table of internal diameters and reference velocities to be used in the design is shown. Here you can modify the respective values, and also add and delete rows to the table. Regarding the calculation with any of these 2 options, you must take into account that the reference values you enter here are used to determine a calculation diameter, which is then compared with the table of nominal diameters you have specified for the pipe library of the project. in such a way that the diameter selected has an internal diameter greater than or equal to the calculated diameter. Finally, we have options for minor losses calculation. You can choose to apply a percentage increase to the actual length of each pipeline or, if you want something more specific, to set the calculation to be performed using localized loss coefficients. In this case, it is necessary to click this button to show the table of fittings and coefficients, so that you enter here the ones you will use in your projects. Here it is important to highlight that the software, when this is the selected method, automatically performs the allocation of accessories and fittings to each project's pipe based on the water network topology. Specifically, automatically assigned accessories are the first 7 that you see in this table, so you will not be able to remove them from it, although you will be able to modify their localized loss coefficients. If you need to manually assign certain fittings or accessories, you can create them in the table and then, in the Properties dialog of each pipeline, specify the number and type of them. In relation to what I commented previously, regarding the process of selection by the software of the diameters under the Design Velocities options, you will see that you have in this Configuration tab the Pipes button. This button gives you access to the Pipe Libraries Manager of your project, and, as you see here, offers you a table for each library in which you can enter the corresponding nominal and interior diameters. Keep in mind that each pipeline section, in the created water network, must have a library previously defined in the project through this dialog. And from it, depending on the range of diameters of the library in question, the software will make the selection in the automatic design phase. Also note that here are defined admissible burial depths to which the pipe can be placed for each diameter. And based on the bedding class. In this case, I want to set the depths for the C bedding class for the range of diameters shown. Also note that here you can specify the friction coefficient to use, although, if you wish, you can modify it for each specific pipeline from the respective Properties dialog. After making any changes, it is important that you save the changes by pressing this button. Then, since it is one of the most important components of each project and, at the same time, of those that take a lot of time when done manually, you will find the required options to enter the parameters to be used by the software to perform the automatic calculation of the quantities of work and lists of materials associated with the water network you are designing. So you will see that when you click the Quantities button in this panel, this dialog is shown. Here you have the tab to specify the range in which the excavation volumes will be separated. By default you will see, here above, the values 3.5 and 5 meters. This means that the total volume of ditches for pipelines will be separated into 3 groups. The volumes for depths between 0 and 3.5 meters. The volumes between 3.5 meters and 5 meters, and, finally, the volumes for depths greater than 5 meters. Also, I forgot to mention previously, you will see that in the Pipe Libraries Manager there are 3 columns in which you can enter the trench widths to be used in the calculation for those depths. Then look at the trench detail. Here you can specify the description of the material that will directly surround the pipeline as well as the one that will be above it, as they are usually 2 materials with different characteristics. In fact, here you can set the height, above the top of the pipe, until the first material will be placed. Then here is the tab on which the distances necessary to define the quantities associated with the 3 pipes bedding classes are included in the calculation. These values are in proportion to the pipe's nominal diameter. The Fittings tab has the available accessories included in the automatic generation of bills of material according to the connectivity configuration that you have given to your water networks on each project. Here you can specify the name or description of the fitting to adapt it to the nomenclature used in your country. Finally, to generate an estimate of the construction cost, the Costs tab is the place where you can specify the cost of each item associated with the movement of land required to build the water network you are designing with the software. Of course, in order to generate the cost of placing the pipes, you must enter the unit cost in the pipes libraries in the respective dialog. The last available tool in the Configuration tab is the one that allows you to set the parameters to be shown in the project's nodes and pipes tables. Here, from the list on the left, you can select the properties you want to present in the corresponding table. And, for each of these properties, you can set the header text and the number of decimals, as well as the justification of the corresponding value. This is a feature we hope you find useful. The last thing we want to comment on in this video is that options are available so that you can keep stored some of the properties you have defined in the different dialogs, as well as the one that allows you to restore the values that by default we have incorporated into the program. To do this, go to the File tab and click on the Settings button. If you use the Save Options button, as I have already mentioned, the modifications you have made for each new project you create in the program will be kept. The Restore Settings button will override any changes you have made, restoring the original factory settings. Note that when I click on the Save button and I choose to create a new project, some parameters will remain the same as those previously modified. This way, we have taken a complete tour of the settings options that our software has for the design and analysis of water networks, hoping that the information will be useful in your next projects. Remember that for more information you can view the tutorials we have arranged on our website. Thanks for your attention.